Hi there, and welcome to this short video where we're going to be considering misleading data representations. Data visualizations are used to give us a clear idea of what the information means that we have by giving it a visual context through charts or graphs. This makes the data more natural for the human mind to comprehend and therefore makes it easier to identify trends, patterns, and any outliers within large data sets. Unfortunately, though, there are those amongst us who take this opportunity to purposely mislead an audience using naughty tactics. Graphs are being used to skew data and spin narratives like never before. All it takes is a single graph from a less than reputable source blasted out to a list of followers to spread a false narrative around the world. This has been in abundance during the COVID-19 response. The data itself may be accurate. It could just be presenting in a misleading way. We can't stop people from employing these crude tactics, but we can equip ourselves with the skills to be able to spot these misleading graphs. Let's consider the main ways an author may manipulate data visualizations. 4 of the most common misleading data tactics are omitting the baseline for your graphs, manipulating the y-axis, cherry-picking the data, or simply using an inappropriate visualization. First, let's look at omitting the baseline. This is where we're not starting from zero or an appropriate baseline for the context. And this is done to make one group look better than another. Omitting baselines is one of the most common ways data is manipulated in graphs. In the data visualization world, this is known as a truncated graph. Truncating graphs can make an occurrence that is not very significant look like a massive difference. Just take a look at this graph that compares how 3 groups felt about a certain issue. If you took a cursory glance at this graph, you would probably think that Group A agreed almost 3 times more than the other 2 groups. However, upon closer inspection, it shows that the difference was only 4% anyway. This graph was obviously created to push an incorrect idea about a certain group. If they wanted to properly show the differences, or just to report the facts objectively, they should have included the baseline to produce a more accurate graph. So what's manipulating the y-axis then? This is where we adapt the scale of an axis to either minimise or maximise a change. This is known simply as axis changing in the data visualization world. Axis manipulation is almost the opposite of truncating data, because they include the axis and baselines, but change them so much that they lose meaning. Consider this graph. They are intentionally including an axis from 0 to 50, even though the data points don't go beyond 15, to make that line as flat as they can. This is to minimise the change over time. However, if I adapt the axes as it should be to accurately frame the data points, indeed it shows that there are actually some big fluctuations year on year, both increasing and decreasing. What do I mean by cherry picking the data then? This is where you include only certain parts of the data. Usually it's the data that puts your viewpoint in a positive light, or your opponent's in a negative light. It's not technically wrong data, but it is definitely misleading. This is often called improper extraction, when only a certain chunk of the data is included. I guess you could also call this tactic omitting data, when some of the key data is just left off the graph. Both of these tactics are things that you want to avoid. Have a look at this graph, showing the data points from May to August. Overall, it looks like an upward trend. However, if we consider the full years, we can see that the upward trend only happened across these summer months, and that actually there is a downward decreasing picture overall for the data points. Using an inappropriate visualization. This is where you simply pick a type of graph or a chart that doesn't fit with the data you are trying to present. More often than not, it's the misunderstood pie chart that's to blame for this. It's not the pie chart's fault that it can be misleading, it's the people who think it can be used for any and every type of data. For example, Take a look at this pie chart from a sports draft. I'm not too sure what they were trying to do with this chart, as it's actually not possible to fully interpret it. Pie charts should only be used to show the parts, or proportions that these parts make up, of a whole, a single whole entity, not 3 different teams like on this pie chart. If they did want to share a more accurate graph, they should have created a column chart like this. These column charts or bar charts are used for comparative data purposes. On this slide here, you can see a summary of the 4 main data portrayals people are trying to achieve through data visualizations. Either the composition of some data, comparing groups, looking for relationships between variables, or simply seeing the distribution of data. If you do want more support on appropriate visualizations, check out this booklet produced by the Academic and Study Skills team at MMU. You'll find this booklet available for download in the next task. I hope you found this helpful, and it's hopefully opened your eyes to some of the potential naughty tactics that people use and equipped you with some skills to identify these. Thanks for watching.